Buddy.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday stream here at Intrepid Studios. We have a pretty exciting hour planned with you guys. We're going to be debuting our Predator class cinematic pre-alpha footage in a little bit. But first, we have a special guest with us. Some of you may know him. He's a pretty popular YouTuber. His name is Fevir. Fevir, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's good, Steven?
Not too much. We don't have video of Fevir because we were afraid he might break the stream if we did. So we have a piece of broccoli for everybody. So, Fevir. Sorry. I know that you have, first, I'm sorry. I'm joined with Jeffrey Bard,
Hi, everybody.
game designer, and Peter Pallone, game designer here at Intrepid Studios. Fevir, we are ready for any questions you got to throw at us, buddy.
All right, so I'm going to try and focus this mainly on crafting and economy. You guys haven't talked a huge amount on this, and I mean, sandbox games live and breathe by this stuff. So
Right.
Yeah.
I know that you guys recognize its importance. It's one of your pillars after all. For players, we tend to rather look at it simply like, is it good or is it bad, yes or no? But crafting encompasses exploration, gathering, transportation, logistics, planning, selling, trade, so much more. So my first question, and hopefully you're following me, what's in that orange box?
What is in that
I
orange
don't
box?
think we're allowed to say. We signed some NDAs on it, and
What's in the box?
the lawyers will come at us if we
can't
reveal
say.
its contents.
All right.
There's many things in here. Hold on, wait. You want this? Is this good for you?
Thank you.
Okay, there you go.
I appreciate
He
it.
keeps giving those out, but we don't
Well,
know what
they're
they
very
do.
important. You know, they're very important.
I don't even know what they do.
You. Oh,
Peter
please.
keeps getting
He's
them.
Playing. Yeah, right. Besides the box.
All right, okay, real talk. Let's start a foundation for the Q&A. Why and how is crafting important to Ashes of Creation?
I mean, it's kind of the part that drives the economy, right? Like, we want players to be the ones who are in control of what enters and what exits. The stuff that people use to progress in the game. And crafting is basically what drives that, right? Mm-hmm. And you can put more or less focus on it. And if you want an economy that functions as a pillar, right, then we need to put more focus on crafting.
Right, and I think a lot of players who are really interested in an economy of a game like different layers of complexity. And they want to see that there's a progression there that involves time spent in navigating that complexity, and that they're rewarded for it because, it's not something that's easily done, and it has an impact on the rest of the game. I mean, you mentioned when you first talked about economy, transportation, transit of those goods, and there's a lot of things that go into it from Ash's perspective that's sort of unique. Actually, I mean, well, it's not necessarily unique. I mean, there's a great game out there. Right?
There's a couple great games.
Well, I mean,
out there.
but
yeah.
Eve is a pretty good game when it comes to resources and their regionalized
Right.
resources.
Their economy is pretty.
It's one of their greater tenets, right? One of the most appealing aspects, I would say. And there's some similarities you could strike between Ashes and Eve in the sense that mobility of those resources in our economy that relate to the construction of nodes or the creation of items or anything that those resources pertain to also involve an element of travel, an element of transit. And it plays again towards the meaning of risk versus reward when doing that, so that you have satisfaction in transiting those goods. So economy is one of our pillars. It's extremely important for us to focus on an in-depth system that has value, and not just value that can be replicated over and over and over again, but value that has a degree of decay over time and use, so to speak.
Yeah, and we think crafting, really adds to the identity of the people who feed into the economy itself.
Mm-hmm.
That they want to be that, they want to feel the reward of going out and getting something or making something themselves.
Right.
So we've been thinking about that since the beginning.
Yeah, there are people that want to be that master crafter.
Right.
I mean,
be
there are people who
known
want to
for
be
that.
that master, battle dude. There are people that want to be the master politician. There are people that want to be the master guild leader. There's a lot of people that want to be the master crafter, or the master gatherer, or the master process.
Right.
That's a huge part of what makes MMORPG so rounded.
Right, and then also back to the circle is
Yes.
that those people who want to be that are going to be big drivers on how the economy works.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds great.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, sometimes I start talking and I forget what the original
Oh,
question
absolutely.
was.
Okay, so then in almost listicle format, what professions, trade skills, or non-combat roles will be found in Ashes of Creation?
Listicle form. Go, Jeff. Every single profession.
I don't think I can do it. So there's going to be basically a primary class that everybody's going to have, which is the artisan class. And then from there, you're going to spec out where you want to be in the crafting spectrum, right? Do you want to be a gatherer? Do you want to process goods? Do you want to create that finished product? And then within those, they also kind of spread out and
diverge into different professions.
specs.
Professions like cooking, alchemy, animal husbandry, weaponsmithing, armor smithing, and then different categories within those. We have a lot of different professions that kind of follow that progression path in those different trees, those three main arcs of the artisan class.
And we call them, or we're calling them professions right now, but they're really more like a skill spec that you're going into. It's going to be, like when you look at the two different UIs, they're going to be pretty similar in how we like surface that information. But yeah, it's going to be more of like a spec, and that spec will determine what you do.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. So there's going to be progression based in the artisan classes. So how does somebody specialize or differentiate themselves from other crafters who are interested in similar crafting or similar gathering or similar processing?
It's going to be based on kind of what you're focused on doing, and then also because the way these branch out is there's going to actually be quite a few lines that go all the way to the bottom, because we have kind of a broad range of what we expect people to go after. There's going to be a way to kind of do everything, but maybe not necessarily super well. And then there's going to be people who just really focus on that one thing, right? They are a master swordsmith, and that's all they focus on. So that's going to be one
there,
right.
Becoming that master of that particular thing, and it also creates an interdependency between other people who are members of that crafting aspect of the game, that they're going to have to relate with those people, trade with those people, interact with those people in order to gain the gatherables, processing, whatever.
Right.
And maybe some dude has that processing plant on his freehold that all the gatherers come to and are like, hey man, you're the only person in this part that can process this mithril, because you've established that plant, that industry on your freehold.
Yeah, and because the economies are kind of regional, right? We're really focused on the idea of reputation, right? We have this this play experience that we want people to have, where I become known for doing something, right? And because the economy is regional, and because it's not a global thing, people will travel to go and find these guys who have unlocked the mysteries of Ashes of Creation and have, made themselves known. Hey, where did you get that amazing sword? I've never seen anything like it before. Well, I got it from this node over here, and there's this guy who creates these ridiculous swords, and you should go check him out.
Can you truly ever unlock the mysteries, though, of Ashes of Creation?
No, the mysteries are like this box, ineffable and unknowable.
There you go. All right.
I finally got one. Sweet. All right. I feel so special now. Sorry.
No, that sounds great. The term artisan is like a callback. It kind of makes me feel a little warm and fuzzy for a prior game. And I know
I know what game you're talking about.
So I know that you guys have said that crafting will use a recipe-based system, but that in itself doesn't tell me much. Run me through the process of creating just like a simple steel sword, and what factors, if there are any, that contribute to Swordmaker 1 having a different result than Swordmaker 2, or even a different result if I made 3 swords in a row.
That's a good question. Walk you through the process of a steel sword. Let's walk you through the process of the Sword of Jeffrey.
The Sword of Jeffrey. Okay, fair enough.
And let's say that you are an item creator and you want to create the Sword of Jeffrey. Obviously, you're going to need to go out and find someone who's capable of gathering the resources or materials that are necessary in order to process those things at a processing plant and industry that's found on a freehold. And then the item creator is going to take that processed material, and they're going to use a recipe within a certain development level of a node, not necessarily in the node, it could be within the ZOI of a node, and they're going to create that item. So item creation kind of reflects not just the collective effort of the tiers of, actually not tiers, the paths of the artisan class, but also reflects the development of the world as well.
Yeah, and as far as differentiating one sword from another sword, there's a couple things that we are not quite ready to talk into detail about until we get these things really nailed down and make sure that they're feasible. But there's going to be widgetization of the crafting process, so that there'll be dials that you can turn to increase this stat at the expense of this stat, or make a weapon more magical versus more physical. And all within that same individual sword. A recipe is going to be a guideline that creates you a finished product, but within that, there's going to be dials that you can turn to change things up.
Yeah, and that could all be within the recipe of the Sword of Jeffrey. Right.
All right, sounds good.
And also different. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you there. But like different specs will increase the size of those dials and kind of the number of dials. So.
Okay. So in many systems, most of the value of an item comes from the gathered material, and that's whether it drops off of a raid boss or it's a very rare resource node. And the act of crafting doesn't add value, it often reduces it. And this leads to games that tack on additional systems to crafting to add value, whether it's like an energy or a labor system, whether it takes real world time to craft, cooldown restrictions, limited use recipes. What steps are you taking to avoid the dreaded materials being worth more than the items that they create?
Well, okay.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay.
Well, that's a hard question.
So, I mean, we have different degrees of item sink to avoid materials becoming more valuable than the item specifically.
Right.
And those item sinks include things like decay, where decay is actually meaningful, not just decay that requires some arbitrary
gold
number
or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And if your item does decay, it can become unusable, broken until additional resources and a person that's capable of crafting that item can repair it. Additionally, there's some over-enchanting kind of mechanics that might include item destruction. There's salvaging, that you can deconstruct an item to get components only capable of retrieving from salvaging an item. That can be used in crafting other types of items. I think that all of those things, obviously it comes down to supply and demand when determining value in an economy, right? And if you have resources that are rare based on the development of the world, or whether or not people have been able to find these resources, or whether or not that resource can be processed because of certain people having advanced to that degree, that's going to fluctuate the supply, which needs to accommodate the demand. So it's not necessarily. Sometimes there could be the materials that have a very high value, and that can fluctuate throughout time depending on local economies.
Right, and the main goal is to make sure that end product, right, does have value above and beyond what the materials are, and that means that a certain amount of item cycling almost needs to happen, because otherwise we just have 1,000 +1 swords on the market, and nobody cares because nobody's buying them, and so. It's kind of almost pointless to create them and add to that. It's a tough problem, and we've got a clear road there, but it's going to take some finagling to make sure that our ideas on that actually bear fruit. And
that's why we have alphas and betas. Obviously we need to test some of these ideas. Ooh, we got a little dark in here.
Cool ambiance.
But anyway, so that's we have alphas and betas to test these mechanics. We're very cognizant of the fact that in order for a healthy economy to exist, there has to be sufficient sinks involved.
Right.
And like specialization in general combats that idea, because when you get down to it in MMOs, when someone crafts something, essentially what you're paying for with gold is someone's time investment.
Right.
And with specialization, they had to work hard to become as good as they are at that thing, right? And you have to compare that when you're a player to, if it's gatherable in the wild, like say you can get a sword from a drop, what's the rarity on the table, that we've learned through playing how many hours, and then compare that across from the specialization of them making it, and that's how the market decides what the value of the item is, right? So we're trying to have all those factors together.
All right, yeah, that all sounds good. I was actually going to specifically mention item decay, but you've kind of touched on it. I'm waiting for the blog post. I know there's a crafting blog post in the works, and
yes,
it's a huge topic. So that'll probably come out in spurts so that we don't bore everybody.
Right.
But
I was thinking like a 50-page.
A 50-page tome.
You don't want to do that?
I don't want to do that.
Right, well, there you go, guys.
No tome. So in the hierarchy of items and item strength, where do crafted items fall? Like a player who's in hypothetical best in slot gear, how much of that is going to be crafted?
I believe that crafting will be up there with the epitome of gear, alongside like world boss drops. But I think the best crafted items are going to involve some major accomplishments in the environment, such as killing those bosses specifically and like gathering the material necessary in order to create certain types of items.
Yeah, so crafters will probably be creating a lot of best in slot items, and the rarity of them will be commensurate with the effort to create them, and then also how good they actually are.
Yeah.
But yeah, we want crafters to be, the rock stars of items, right? I mean, that's what they're there for. That's what their intention is supposed to be.
And they should be, because our crafting system is in depth. I mean, it is a serious crafting system.
Right, and it's I don't know. I always get frustrated when I play a game and there's almost no point to crafting. Like, it's a fun little side project to do, and you spend some money to do it, and it's I make some weapons, but then I never use them. Like, it's a frustrating
I got the
thing.
item from the dungeon, and like, why should I ever need a crafter?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like a worthless part of the game.
Right.
So for us, we wanted to bring crafting, not just crafting, but the economy in general, to the forefront of what a player experiences, and it creates a necessity for those types of players in the game as well. We want a healthy blend of population, so we need to offer what economy means to players that want to excel in that regard.
That sounds good. I think that a huge issue that games have is that they try and put all of the end game of a crafter into like making money as opposed to honing your craft. So as long as you're cognizant of that kind of stuff going forward, that's good to hear. We're going to kind of shift into player stalls. You had mentioned them before, where somebody could set up and buy and sell items that potentially while they're idle or AFK they could sell. Will this include functionality for services as well, like repairing or enchanting if you have that? And would the system be open enough that I could, say, sell a casted buff or an application of a potion as well?
The last part's an interesting idea. I think that we've discussed that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty cool. I don't know if that's the direction we're going to end up going, but it's definitely a pretty neat idea. But yeah, as far as repairs and stuff, as far as enchantment goes, all of that stuff is going to be there as a service that players can offer.
And those stalls exist within the marketplaces of nodes as they develop. You'll have more stalls available. If it's an economic node, there'll be greater versatility to those marketplaces. Players, if they're going to be logging off, they can rent these stalls to either sell items that they want to sell or the services, as we said, and they can do that. We definitely have functionality in place for that.
Yep.
And are there any restrictions set up to where they can be? So you mentioned the nodes, but is it town only? Are there special commerce zones? Do you need citizenship? Does it have to be at least 10 yards away from another player stall? And then what? Well, and then let me just add on another tack here, just so because you can say it in the same breath.
For sure.
And what manner of UI or notifications will there be? Like, will there be a stall physically there with like a sign where a person like wrote a sentence, or is it a searchable interface element, or?
That's a good question. Okay, so first of all, there will be a number of stalls equal to the development of the node. They'll be within a marketplace setting, so all the stalls will kind of be together. There will be a user interface that players can access, which is going to be like a town center billboard that kind of lists the current items available within the stalls, and potentially even, depending on what type of node it is, could reflect the position of items in certain stalls in other nodes as well, if they're connected by an economic region, maybe a metropolis or something. It doesn't let you purchase from that UI. Instead, it gives you the location of the stall on a mini map, and you can go then to that stall and purchase that item or whatever service you're trying to find. There's functionality there on a user interface platform for players not to have to visit every single stall and find out, what does this guy got? What does this guy got? What does this guy got?
That's fun for the first 5 minutes, and then it gets really boring.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, we wanted to make it easy, but we also want to make it social. So that's why we're going in that direction.
Right.
Can I customize my player stall?
That is not something we've talked about.
What do you mean by customize?
Like, hey, I'm going to put up like this cool doll that I did, or maybe kit out
you mean from an aesthetic standpoint?
Like one of those armor stand things, put that stuff out there.
We could definitely, me personally, the way I viewed it when we do the stall setup from a visual standpoint is like, you'll have classes of items, And if you have listed that class of item, you'll have a generic aesthetic that appears on the bench of the stall. So like if you're listing potions, you'll have some potions appear.
Right.
If you're listing fabric, you'll have fabric in the background. You know, something along those lines where the stall is representative visually of what is listed on the items based on the classification of those items.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I'm gonna shift gear one more time because I think I only have like 2 or 3 more minutes of your time.
Sure.
God, these things go by so fast.
They really do.
For your interface, have you guys discussed how much freedom the player will have in configuration options? Like, are you designing it for players to be able to install mods?
That's a good question, and it's something that we're definitely addressing in our discussions. I think we're maybe leaning towards not allowing the mod.
Yeah, it just depends on what we're talking about when it comes to mods, because they can provide boons and they can provide banes, and we're just not sure where we are on that. There'll definitely be some options for customization, especially on the UI side of things. But as far as like true mods, I'm not really sure how much we're going to support that.
I think that the issue with mods becomes that, like, certain players with access to certain mods, now the mod is like necessary to play the game
Right.
from a competitive aspect. And if players don't have that mods, then they're experiencing the game on a different level. And I just don't want that meta to appear where mods are required in order to perform.
Right.
But with superficial
So
mods like making the UI look sexy, would those be okay?
Oh, that's a different story. No,
That's totally different story.
Yeah.
Yeah, are we actually just implemented all of that
With
ability?
Jason, I
Can you
think.
confirm, Jason? The ability to customize the UI. Thumbs up. Yeah, so that's all stuff that we're designing for right now. So that should be all open and sexifiable
Yep.
real soon.
Nice.
So.
Now, the phrasing of this may be off since it's just like magic to me, but how open or extensive will API options be? And for people listening, this is the things that allow, WoW Armory or the Kill Board or EveMon if you've played Eve.
I think
Yeah.
that's kind of what we were, like, at least you guys were discussing in the early part. I think that's how we took the question initially. We've
okay.
discussed the pros and cons of that type of interfacing, and it's something we're aware of.
We were still discussing
Right,
it, I
it's-
think.
Yeah, we're not quite at that point yet. It's really going to depend on like what structures our data comes in and how easy it is to parse out, and what things we want to keep secret and what things we don't want people to mine. As far as like what items are there, because a lot of the progression of the server, right, is very progression based, and we want to have secrets that we can keep to ourselves.
Right.
And opening that up to everybody makes that difficult. However, that doesn't mean there's not going to be nothing, but it's something that we're just still talking about.
Yeah.
All right. What's your stance on multi-boxing or dual or more clients active?
I think that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we don't have an official policy. That policy will come as time goes on. But I mean, as long as you're paying for your account and it's a real account that you haven't stolen from somebody else, and you're not botting, and you're not doing those sorts of things, it's not a problem.
Yeah, if it's a true second account that you have alts on or whatever, I don't see any issue with
Yeah,
it. I
some
mean, you're
solo
putting the
players
time
love
and
that.
effort towards
Right.
developing that character. It's like,
Yeah, I've seen some crazy multi-box setups, and
dude, I knew somebody that literally had like 11 accounts that they had open on their computer at one time in another game. And I was like, how do you do that?
You just have 6 computers and you spin around.
Does she work at the NSA and has access to a supercomputer or something? I mean, I tried
Yeah.
to open 2 and
Right.
thing. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, no, I think we're okay with the alt accounts and stuff.
Are there mock-ups or concept art available for things like the Guildhall skins, the angelic, or the demonic skins through the Kickstarter?
we're getting concept art for that real soon.
This, I think by Friday, we'll have the angelic and demonic skins. If not Friday, it would be early next week. But and then the Guildhall, I think, is probably going to be next week as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, and then the last question, and this is important in an unironic fashion. Fishing.
Okay.
Fishing. Is fishing?
Fishing.
Yeah. So is fishing going to be in?
Fishing is
fishing,
confirmed.
for
Okay.
sure.
Fishing is confirmed.
Yeah, fishing.
100%. We can't have an MMO without fish.
Yeah,
But fishing-
We should have bobbers too.
So fishing straddles like a really cool line about like it's a cult favorite and people will overcommit time to it, but it's also like
Right.
this idle, low attention activity. So it like begs for both simplicity and depth. Any details on how you're going to tackle fishing?
Wow.
Wow, that
Did
was
you see
good.
what happened there?
I did. That was a really good
nice.
segue.
Let me lure you in on fishing real quick.
Right.
So, so that wasn't as good. Anyways, no, there's going to be absolutely functionality for fishing. There's going to be fishing in the game. Fishing is going to play a role in kind of that gatherable sense where
Yeah,
you're
it'll
gonna
be fall into
collecting-
gatherable
Yeah, you're fall into
auspice.
gathering, and you're going to be able to collect certain fish for potions and food, and potentially even unique components. I mean, there's going to be a lot of functionality for fish.
Yeah, we haven't actually figured out what the actual interface is going to be like. We
Right.
do want to make it fun. It's something we've talked about. We're going to try to maybe do something different than what other games may have done. We want it to be engaging and, like you said, like that kind of like relaxing,
Right.
slow ride kind of vibe.
But at the same time, we don't want like AFK fishing.
No,
just go.
yeah.
Because I remember when I brought you into a game a few years ago.
This is true.
Remember, I just gave you a poll and I said, "All
Right.
right, sit here and fish for the next like 6 hours."
Right.
And you're like, "All right,
Best EXP of my life. Yeah.
not going to be like that."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got for you. You guys can. I'm excited to see the next Kickstarter video or the next revealed video. So thanks for
Oh,
thanks for
yeah.
having me.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate
Really
it.
appreciate
They're
it,
great.
buddy.
Have a good one, guys.
Have a
Take
good
care,
one.
man.
All right. Well, you think we should show the video today, or should we keep it?
I don't know. Maybe we should wait till Friday.
What's in the brief?
What do you got? Oh, is the video in the briefcase? I think it might be in the briefcase. What if it just like went onto the screen?
We don't.
Oh my God. Is that Gwyneth Paltrow?
Yeah.
Oh, there's Bacon.
Bacon is responsible
Baconator.
for the graphics you're seeing currently.
Yes, that is true. Bacon is a man of many talents. One of them, most recently, has become streaming. So, yes. I think we're going to debut the video. Now, this is a, just to give you a little heads up, or should we discuss it after?
I think we
Let's
should discuss it afterwards.
Yeah, let's discuss it after.
Let's let you guys see it, and then we'll talk
All
about
right, Bacon, let's roll the film. right.
We're here. We're back.
We're back.
Hope you guys like that. That is cool watching it again for me.
I love watching it every single time. I mean, it's pretty freaking crazy. That is our Predator class. And our Predator class is a rogue primary with a Ranger
Secondary.
subclass. And there's a little bit of a story here, obviously, and we'll probably be expanding on this storyline as we debut more pre-alpha footage. And none of that is CGI. None of that is pre-rendered. That environment is in the game. That city, we'll be walking around in that city probably on Friday as the rogue.
Yeah, we'll probably take you guys on a tour.
Like in the market and show everybody, the AIs walking around and stuff. We'll take you to where that relic was and whatever. That is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I hope you guys are excited about it. I know we are. We're moving and grooving over here.
Yes, we are moving and grooving. We have a team, obviously, of some pretty talented artists and programmers and designers, and I think that it translates well to everyone who's watching this project, just to see what we can accomplish as a team over the past 15 months.
It's been good, man.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. So I think we have some questions.
Is that a question?
Do we have questions? I
We
think it's a
do.
question.
The first question is by Unpwned.
Unpwned.
In the freeholds, what are the uses for having a house? The industrial structures are self-explanatory, but what would the use of a house be?
That's a good question. Use of a house?
Use of house. Well, I mean, primarily, it's one of the core components is it's going to give you citizenship to the node that you belong to. It's going to be a place to store and show off your items. It's going to be a place where you do some crafting. It's going to be a place where you host parties. It's going to be a social space. It's a place that you can call yours, and it's kind of like your little place that you own in the world.
Right. Yeah, it's something that you can identify with as a player. A lot of people think in previous games that don't allow for housing, they had just their character to customize and present themselves with. This is an extension of that. Like, if you're going to have a home on your freehold, and you don't necessarily have to have a home on the freehold. You could be pure industry. But if you're going to have a home on the freehold, it's, as Jeff said, it's going to open up some storage. It's going to have that extension of your identity and who you are through furniture sets, through placement of achievements that you may have gotten in game. If you've killed like the monster centaur dude, and you take his head and mount it on your fireplace.
Right.
It even could have some pit stops for you if you hunt and quest in that area, helping to further develop your node. You may have bonuses associated with being near that home.
You can have your cat and your dog walk around there.
yeah. Children?
No.
Oh, sorry.
What are you doing?
What's happening?
Anyways, that's just a logical extension of your identity.
So, Saints Shinobi says, what will you have in place to prevent griefing in the crafting system? For example, what if someone says they will make something for you, but then takes your resources and runs?
We're going to have a UI that
UI.
addresses that. You're
Facilitates.
going to open up a window, and they're going to open up a window, and you're going to say, hey, I want this item. They're going to show it to you in the UI. You're going to put the resources in, or they're going to put the resources in. It'll be like an escrow system, and then once it's complete, you'll get the item, they'll get the money.
It's kind of like how our service kiosks almost work.
Right,
Way
but
you
this
could-
is more
No, yeah,
personal.
right.
Yeah.
But the same idea, just on a
Yeah,
smaller
and also, I'm sure there'll be ways to, go outside that system, but there's no reason to. So don't let people scam you out of stuff by saying, "Oh, it'll be easier if you just send me these the items." It's something we see a lot in other
Trust me,
games.
you've
so.
won the lottery.
Right.
Just send me 5,000 coins.
Why does my password come up as stars when I type it? Okay. Emo asks, what are the devs' biggest fears and challenges to bringing Ashes of Creation to life?
Biggest fears and challenges?
That is a scary question.
It's a very macro question.
Biggest fears and challenges. Let me think for a moment.
I mean, I know for me, it's always going to be launch day to me. That's the day that terrifies me the most, because that's the day when everything goes live, and you just got to hope you did enough work, enough preparation to make everything go smoothly. You're always second guessing yourself on that day, going, "Man, is there something I forgot that I should have remembered?"
And no matter how much you prepare, there's
always
gonna be
something. Yeah.
I mean, I think I've experienced that. But I think one of the most important aspects to that fear is us as a company, our interaction with the community is far different than other companies. I think that we're going to continue this degree of transparency and interaction with the community, so that if ever there is some issue that comes up, people just aren't in the dark.
Right.
There's not a forum post that's going at 100 pages a second. People saying, "Where is everybody? Why aren't you talking to us?"
Right.
It's like that's something I've experienced personally.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be an experience that our players are going to have. But yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good concern. I mean, that's probably my.
It's not a concern. It's a fear, right? That day is the
Right.
scariest day. It's also the most awesome day, but it's a terrifying, seat of your pants kind of day.
Yeah.
Next question by Ang. Will a user stay in the game once they've disconnected from the server?
Will users stay in the game once they've disconnected from the server? Not
no, I don't think
really.
I think the only context we've thrown that idea around was with kiosks.
The kiosks.
That's the only context I think we've really.
Even then,
More
I
than
don't- I
that,
don't know
it'd
it's
probably be just replacing it with an NPC.
with
Right,
an NPC.
right.
That
Yeah.
might reflect you.
Right, that would be
Right.
like a mirror of
Yeah,
you kind
but
of.
I don't think
yeah.
your account is going to be.
Yeah, there's not going to be any need to do that, and that could cause a lot of problems with
Right.
other things. So I wouldn't want to do that.
And don't go AFK.
King Axel asks, will you consider adding RP servers, even if not having special rules, just a place so that our peers can hang out with each other?
I don't think if the community wants to say, hey, we've decided this is going to be a de facto RP server, that's on the community to do that.
Right.
But for me personally, our peers add a lot of flavor to the MMORPG experience. And I think that it's something that should be sprinkled out among all the servers.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's
Fair
my
distribution.
personal opinion.
Yeah.
They listen, RPing gets sometimes, picked on a little bit by the more competitive side of MMORPG gaming. But in reality, they're a source of immersion for everyone. It's not just the visuals, it's not just the music, it's not just the systems in place, but like the community you're involved with. If there are peers, they help with that immersion a little
Yeah,
bit.
no, 100%. I've always been one, so it's.
I liked RP.
Yeah.
Sometimes depends.
We'll show some video of you
Right.
RPing sometime soon.
No.
Next question by Core Dog. Will there be a main city that's a safe area for players?
Will cities be safe areas? Meaning, will combat?
Will there be
activated,
safe
or will there be
areas?
safe areas?
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good question. I think
I think safe in quotes, right?
Right, by default,
Safer.
having like guards and
Right.
stuff like that are quickly going to pounce on combat within the city.
Right.
Is a different story.
Yeah.
Than like a hard cap, like there is no combat in
Right.
the zone. I think we're more towards the guard thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we're gonna keep looking at, and if it's a problem, we'll address it. But we want to be a little bit more, a little bit less prescriptive, and a little bit more, let you guys kind of figure out solutions on your own. But if it becomes a problem, if griefing in cities is an issue, we'll take a look at it, and we should be able to tell by the time.
And we have a lot of testing planned.
Right.
And in that testing, we have varying degrees of population for those test servers. And we'll be able to see, as Jeff said, if that's a problem, something that's easily addressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one by Possum. With regard to Underrealm node development, will Underrealm nodes and above ground nodes exist in the same ZOI?
No.
No, there's
They'll-
there's no overlapping of ZOIs in regards to node development.
Yeah, so if there's above ground one and then there's somehow a node down here,
Right.
they'll have their own. They'll be related. They'll have relationships, but they won't share the same ZOI.
The ZOI is not like a sphere with a height.
Yeah, it's more of a
It's
plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Akatosh asks, if mounts can be killed by players, when the mount dies, is it gone forever?
Well, I think there
Somber
may have been a
question.
little bit of a miscommunication last stream where I said mounts can die.
Oh, okay.
I meant like mounts can be killed and then resurrected, not permanently gone.
Right. Oh,
Right.
okay.
You can be dehorsed.
You could be dehorsed, exactly. Yeah, that's
Right.
a good one. And then that horse can be brought back. So
Okay.
there are, however, potentially, some mounts that are epic mounts that could be dropped, like an egg or something from like an epic boss, and that mount could have a lifetimer on it. And then there are also mounts like dragons associated with the mayors of metropolises or the kings and queens of a castle, which are timed based on what your position is. If you ever are not that king or queen of the castle, you will not have access to it anymore.
Right. Those are pretty side
rare,
cases though.
right,
Like
exactly.
in general,
General mounts.
your mounts aren't going to be dying.
Right.
Not
Unless you
permanently.
don't feed them. What if you don't? No, I'm just kidding. Jeff's face is like, what?
The next question by Porin. Will there be an auto loot function or a looter pet of some sort?
So loot's always a weird thing when it comes to that, right? I like auto looting most of the time, but it also, like, there is something really cool about going and clicking on that thing and that moment where you don't know what it has and you do know what it has, and when it's really awesome and you're like, oh, that's that thing, I'm going to grab it and put it in my inventory. That's a cool moment, right? And I don't think we want to get away from that
That's why,
necessarily.
like, if you have a bird, you're just like, hey, bird, what did I get? You know what I mean?
Right, but then it's just showing up in your chat log somewhere,
That's
and
true.
there's not
Yeah.
that like event that happens when you see
Maybe the
that
bird
thing.
can talk and it's like,
But it's we're kind of playing with some ideas there. We'll probably have some kind of
I'm sorry, go ahead.
we'll probably have some kind of something like that.
Yeah.
What
I think-
form
I
it's
think
going to
we're
take yet
discussing that.
is
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, last one is by Flarestorm99. Will there be seasonal events / quests / holidays?
Yes, 100%.
Right.
Sure.
That's going to be part of our live content. We're going to be doing all sorts of seasonal events, and that means our seasons, not the game seasons. The game will also have seasons, and there will be events associated with those seasons. So it's
Right.
seasons
On
in
seasons.
seasons.
Right.
Seasons on seasons.
Seasons on seasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be celebrating holidays. We want to make sure that things are fun and people can, like, when they've got time off for.
Oh my gosh, speaking of seasons,
Oh, I forgot.
did you all know that it was Jeffrey's birthday yesterday?
Yeah, my birthday yesterday, and we hit 9,000 pledges on yesterday, so it's kind of a cool birthday
Wow.
present. Yeah.
Wait, why does it say 9,500? Are we at
Did we just hit it?
9,500?
No.
We're not at 9,500 backers yet.
We're real close, though. I
very
think we were
close.
within 100 last time I
Yes,
checked.
go out and tell all your friends who may not have heard yet.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure everybody heard by now.
I hope everybody's
I'm
heard
just
by now.
kidding. Oh, so happy birthday, Jeffrey.
Happy
Thanks, I
birthday.
Did you do
appreciate
anything
it.
fun?
Went out to a really nice dinner with my wife.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Very nice.
Very cool. What'd you have?
I had a 16-ounce steak.
Wow.
It was very good.
Wow. Oh, we're 63 away from 9,500. Oof.
Nice.
That's cool.
15 minutes, guys. 15 minutes.
So, do we want to take some questions maybe from the stream?
Sure.
Yeah?
Always.
Jennifer, I know you
I'm
love
ready
when we
and
do that.
Yeah, I really love it.
Actually, one of the questions
Oh,
earlier.
one more question.
No, it's not one more, but
Oh.
for Ang with will the user stay in the game once they've logged out? The context of that question might be for PvP people avoiding PvP trying to auto log.
Oh, there'll be a delay.
that might
Oh,
be, that
yeah,
might be
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
context they were talking
There'll be a
about.
disconnect delay. You won't
Sorry,
be
I-
able to immediately log out of combat, and there wouldn't be any immediate log out mechanic anyways. There'll be a small time delay between
Right.
your option to choose logging out and you actually
We
disconnect.
kind of took that as like, if you log out, will you be in a space for hours? That's how I took
Yeah,
the
I was
question.
thinking of
But
like
that's not
EQ
how-
where
right.
people are logged in 24 hours so they can
Right.
do the marketplace.
Right.
But yeah.
Excuse me.
I was also thinking there was a game that you could stay logged in perpetually, sort of, and people could kill you or like move your body somewhere, and then you'd like get taken.
Yeah. What was that
Yeah.
game?
It was some sort of like.
I remember when I
martial
used to
arts
go
game.
AFK, people would abduct me and like leave me on an island out in the middle of nowhere. Or one time I was in this like house that had no doors and I couldn't get out.
Jack Sparrow.
I don't know how that happened.
Was that a dream?
Sounds like
Are
a-
you sure?
Sounds like
I-
you said this is a game?
And you know what? Wait, hold on. There was a table in the house, and on the table was,
Was
a
a box?
revolver. Was a revolver and a chair.
What? What?
I took pictures of it.
Are you sure this wasn't a dream?
I swear to God.
Wow.
We've strayed too far. Do we have any questions?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Mr. Pixel Tech asks, do you plan on integrating party parsing system utility?
Party parsing system
Say
utility.
that 5 times fast.
Yes. No, I'm not going to.
Parsing
Party
system
parsing.
utility.
Probably not out the box
What
right
is a party
now.
parsing?
So I think he's talking about like doing parses for how your party's doing, who got the highest DPS.
Yeah, like DPS and things like that.
Oh,
Oh, that's what we
okay.
kind of tried to answer
Yeah,
before, right?
I think we're discussing whether or not that kind of mod integration is available.
We're definitely talking about the pros and cons of it.
There's
and we know
definitely
about
going to
it.
be there's definitely going to be PVE metrics that I think will be implemented for like certain dungeons and or PVE events,
Leaderboards and stuff like
leaderboards,
that,
Exactly,
yeah.
and that's going to have those metrics there. And I think like groups on the server can compete on like who does it the best, and like there can be levels at which you're doing that PVE that entitles you to different types of drop tables potentially even. I think that's definitely something we want to have in our PvE experience, so that players can kind of be competitive in that regard. And it's not competitiveness is not just a PvP thing. It's
Right.
also a PvE thing, and we got to have those metrics available to
Yeah, but as far as putting hooks into the game,
Right.
as far as allowing
Yeah.
parsers, not really sure about that.
No Suit 4321 asks, is there anything stopping people from just coming into your freehold and attacking you? Is that a safe zone?
Is your
You should
free-
be able to lock the door. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can lock the door.
Yeah.
For sure. There might even. We're still discussing that.
Yeah, like the safe zones before. It's
At the very least, you're locking your door. That's definitely
there
going to be.
could be there could be us deciding that freeholds would have that. If we were going to implement safe zones, freeholds could potentially be a safe zone, unless of course there's a siege and the city falls or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
That's definitely one of
But
the areas where we
we're discussing
understand the pros and cons of
Right.
it.
Yeah. We're discussing that.
Sarek asks if there would be a way to make templates for freeholds to save their builds.
Save their builds. That's something we'd like to do.
Yeah, because there's going to be a lot of movement potentially, and we don't want people, to kind of lose their.
Yeah, and we're talking about not just like the layout of the freehold, but like the layout of like just your decorations and stuff like
Right.
that. Being able to like export that to another house
Yes.
that you move somewhere else without having to fiddle with everything and try to get it just so again.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
yeah,
All right, I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
are we good?
We're
There are
good.
a couple more questions since we have a few minutes.
Okay,
We can
sure,
take a couple more
Yeah, yeah.
questions.
Can you repeat them because they can't hear me?
Oh, sorry, I keep forgetting that.
Sorry,
Go
everyone.
ahead. We'll do it. We'll repeat it.
Big Boy Joy asks, can all classes use all weapons?
Can all classes use all weapons? The answer is, for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, the answer is yes. But obviously, certain
You
classes.
sounded so sad saying that.
No, I'm not sad about that. I think that's cool. It definitely adds to the customization aspect of it. But I think that certain classes are going to gravitate towards certain types of
Yeah.
weapons, depending on what your focus as a class wants
Right,
to
and
be.
what your build is actually.
Right.
You know, if you're a tank class and you want to use a shield blast, you're going to have to use a shield. So
That spellbook only has so many pages.
right, exactly. So we're not locking you down to rogues only wear leather armor. It's going to be pretty open, and then that will change based on what your build is.
Lethality MMO asks, is the spyglass confirmed as an equipment piece?
Is the spyglass confirmed
Yes.
as an equipment piece?
It is a utility piece, really. The spyglass can be. Part of our class design includes not just active skills that are meant for combat, but also includes skills that are meant for utility. And I think that's something that we pull from like tabletop RPGs a little bit, that aspect of, and,
Yeah.
and we want people to explore and adventure again, not just grind.
Right.
And part of adventuring is having certain items and skills that have utility application.
outside of combat.
Exactly. And that spyglass is an example of one of those.
Lucy asks, what are we going to do to ensure that tanks are relevant in PvP?
The question is, what are we going to do to ensure that tanks are relevant in PvP? We're going to do a couple things with that. Not just, I think when they talk about relevant, we mean that they can't actually kill anybody because their DPS is so low. We think about PvP in sort of like a large scale, multi-people kind of.
Right, and PvP is not a one-dimensional DPS race. I mean, there are a lot of different roles that relate to our archetypes that have application when it comes to PvP.
Right.
And what is a tank's role in that? It's damage mitigation, it's control, and I think PvP for a tank, you want to focus on, hey, can I taunt a group of players around me so that my cannons cannot get targeted, or my
Right.
healers don't get targeted?
So can I de-target
Right.
other people? That's going to be
Can
that's
I
confirmed.
reflect damage if I become the target of an opponent?
Right.
And if they're not watching what's happening, they could potentially kill themselves.
Can I block off part of the battlefield for a short period of time?
Exactly, yeah.
All those things are going to be things that they bring to the table.
I think every class that we are building, those archetypes have a relevant place in the PvP. That's part of balancing Ashes of Creation, is that there needs to be a relevant factor, not just from a PvE perspective, but also from a PvP perspective, because those two blend in Ashes of Creation and what's capable. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully that answered the question.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think that is a wrap. Again, everybody out there, your support and continued spreading of the word for our Kickstarter means so much to everybody here at Intrepid Studios. We are at, what are we at right now?
1.69?
1.69? Does anybody know? Jason?
1.672.
So we're
9,439 backers.
We're almost at 9,500 backer goal, and we're almost at 1.75 stretch goal, which is going to unlock that Underrealm.
The Underrealm. I'm really excited about that.
That is very exciting.
If we get to build this, I am very happy.
So thank you guys for your continued support. It means the world to us, and we'll see you guys on Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific time.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks
Thanks
for
so much,
tuning
you
in.
guys. We
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Appreciate it. Take care.